Imagine a poem soaked in sensory indulgence. It speaks of leaping gazelles, spiced wine, ripe pomegranates, and lovers pulling each other into a spring meadow. This isn't a piece of modern erotica or a secular romance novel. These lines are the literal text of the 22nd book of the Bible. The poetry zeroes in on the human body with stunning physical specificity. The female speaker describes her lover's arms as rounded gold, while he praises her hair cascading like a flock of goats, and her waist as a mound of wheat encircled with lilies. The contradiction is immediate. How did a collection of verses this explicit and this deeply focused on physical desire become one of the most sacred texts in religious history? Read the book from start to finish, and you'll find a startling vacuum. Unlike Genesis, Isaiah, or the Psalms, this entire volume of scripture lacks any direct mention of God. To navigate this, readers developed a specific framework: two simultaneous interpretive lenses. The first lens treats the text as a passionate celebration of human sexual love. The second lens reads the poem as a spiritual allegory for the divine's love for humanity. Understanding the work requires an embrace of both. The poem is only complete when the sacred and the sensual occupy the same space. The poetry begins in the thrill of early courtship. A young woman, often called the Shulamite, flirts with her lover amidst lush, fragrant cedar groves and blooming hillsides. Many scholars support what is called the shepherd hypothesis. This reading suggests the maiden is resisting the dazzling wealth and royal harem of King Solomon, choosing instead to wait for a humble shepherd boy. Now apply the spiritual lens. For ancient Jewish rabbis, this exact story of springtime awakening mapped directly onto the story of the Exodus. The moment winter ends and the land bursts into bloom represents God rescuing Israel from slavery, a deliverance celebrated every spring during Passover. The giddy thrill of falling in love shares the same emotional architecture as the emergence of a nation's covenant with the divine. The euphoria eventually fractures. The Shulamite wakes in the middle of the night to find her lover missing. She wanders the winding, dangerous streets of the city, frantically searching for him. Switch to the spiritual lens, and this absence takes on a national scale. Rabbinic tradition interpreted this frantic search as Israel's sorrow and isolation after being exiled from their homeland, longing for a God who felt far away. Christian mystics like John of the Cross took this further, using the passage to describe the dark night of the soul. It captures the grueling psychological state where the human spirit desperately searches for a creator who has gone silent. The physical, visceral ache of reaching across an empty bed for a missing partner provides the vocabulary for the abstract spiritual agony of feeling abandoned by God. When the lovers finally reunite, the text introduces its central metaphor. He describes his bride as a locked garden, and she invites him to enter. Inside, the poetry erupts into a sensory overload of exotic spices, dripping golden honeycomb, and heavy, ripe fruit. It is an unashamed celebration of physical intimacy, fidelity, and marital joy. Under a spiritual lens, the garden sheds its physical constraints. It transforms into the ultimate, exclusive union between the creator and the created. This intimacy anchors directly to massive historical milestones: the delivery of the covenant at the summit of Mount Sinai, or, in the New Testament tradition, the bond between Christ and the Church. The locked garden proves that physical consummation and divine covenant are celebrated using the same vocabulary of joy and exclusivity. Historically, this text created tension. Some wanted to ban the book as scandalous, while others erased the physical romance to make it purely spiritual. But both extremes missed the mark. The ancient worldview did not draw a hostile line between physical body and spiritual soul. Human sexuality and romantic love, in all their physical glory, are not treated as shameful secrets to be hidden away. They are presented as profound gifts from the divine. A committed human romance is simply the most powerful earthly metaphor we have to comprehend the unbreakable intensity of God's love for humanity. The refusal to separate the sacred from the sensual elevates these verses above all other poetry, making it, rightfully, the Song of Songs.